Hey, this is Rebecca Westman, and you're listening to the Wedding Collective podcast. I'm a Canadian wedding photographer based on the border of Alberta and Saskatchewan. Hey, Lloydminster! Welcome to your local go-to podcast for all things wedding planning. I'll be sitting down with real-life couples and local wedding vendors, connecting you to the best of the best in the Lloydminster area. Plus, I'll be sharing my own experiences as a wedding photographer, offering insights and advice on what I've learned while working with my couples. So, whether you're sipping coffee with your wedding planning checklist or just daydreaming about your perfect day, this podcast is your new best friend. Stay tuned for inspiring conversations, valuable insights, and a whole lot of love. This is the Wedding Collective podcast. Let the wedding adventure begin. Okay, hi Marcy, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks for coming over.
Yeah, no problem.
This is kind of nice. This is my first time doing it in person.
Yeah, I thought it would be kind of cool.
It is nice. So I'm really, really excited to talk to you today as one of my favorite photographers around.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, you sure
Okay,
are.
thank you.
You're welcome. But I guess before we really get into that, I want to hear about you and who you are, outside of your business.
Okay, why is that always the hardest, is to talk about ourselves?
I know.
Right?
So
I'm like,
true.
when I seen that question you sent me, I'm like, okay, who am I? Besides literal titles, right? Who am I besides this? Oh, I don't know. I'm a mom of 3. I have 3 kids. I am a nurse. I am a makeup artist. And I am a photographer.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Cool. I always forget you do makeup as well.
Yeah, that's kind of how I got into photography, actually, was I used to
way.
do makeup for weddings all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just kind of got into it.
Awesome. So then now I'd love to hear about you as a photographer. Tell me about your business, how you got started and all of the photography things you've done and kind of what you focus on now.
Okay, so I was always the kid with a camera in my hands. And then when we got married, our group of friends, we always get together and we put in money together when we buy each other big gifts.
Okay.
Big gifts. So they actually bought me an entry-level DSLR camera.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I would just play around with it. And then I ended up having my first child. Wanted a 6-month sitter session. And, being on a fixed income with mat leave, I couldn't afford it. And then, you would want 1-year session and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, you know what? I have this really nice camera and I'm half-ass creative. So I'll just do it myself, right? Just delusional confidence. And you know what? They're actually pretty cute. They're not bad. And then the next actual session I did was my best friend was getting married and she wanted a boudoir session.
Oh.
And I was like, oh yeah, for sure. I can do this. And you know what? We did it outside and they're not bad. Okay. But no idea what I was doing. Shot on a kit lens. Entry-level camera, no editing software,
wow.
No idea what I was doing. And then people kept asking me to take their photo. And then eventually, more and more people kept asking me, so I was like, oh, I guess I better figure out how to do this. And so I took up a couple courses and learned how to shoot.
Okay.
And then it just kept doing it. So it just kind of fell into my lap. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm gonna go be a photographer.
Right.
It was just kind of like, oh, I got this camera. Oh, this is fun. I can do this. And then boudoir just kept kind of coming into my life. I wasn't trying to be a boudoir photographer. I really enjoyed it, but I didn't know what I was doing. And I was confident enough to do it, but not confident. I think I wasn't confident in myself, and therefore I was projecting my insecurities onto my clients without even being aware of it.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So anyways, fast forward, I shot the families, I shot the babies, I shot the weddings, I've done it all, and then boudoir just kept coming back. And so I ended up taking a course, a mentorship. It was a workshop, and that just really flipped my mindset more than anything, because I knew how to photograph. I just needed that mindset shift and be like, okay, I can do this.
Cool.
And that's kind of where I went.
So that's really cool. You have had experience in weddings. You did the families, you did everything like that, and then you really fell in love with boudoir.
Yeah, after that mindset shift, and I figured out, when I went for that workshop, one of the only questions I had was how do I make someone feel confident in their own skin when I don't feel confident in mine? How do I do that?
Wow.
Yeah. And so, it wasn't just that workshop that switched the switch for me. But it was still a daily struggle. Yeah. And it was a daily effort that I had to put in to not project my own insecurities onto my clients, because what I may be insecure about isn't what everyone else is, right? Yeah, that's kind of how I niched into boudoir. And
that's really interesting.
And yeah,
that like mindset shift is not easy.
No. And that's what I tell my clients when we sit down. I say, like, as much as I would love for this to be, you know, your pivotal moment and this is going to change your life forever, it might not. But it's going to be a step in the right direction, right? And it's going to be a daily struggle. It's not just one thing. And all of a sudden, you're going to be like, I love everything about myself. You're never going to love everything about yourself. That's not possible. But you don't have to hate it either.
Right. Oh, that's so good. And I can relate very personally to to those struggles.
Everyone can, right? We all have our own, and that's okay.
Yeah. So, what do you love most about what you do?
That.
Yes.
Like, I love it all. It honestly, like, I love how it's not just some sexy pics.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? There's so much more to it. We get to, like, build a relationship. By the end of it, like, we're friends, and it's so much more than just a paycheck for me. And my favorite thing about it is literally watching a client transform from being, you know, shy, apprehensive, unsure to confident. And I know that's so, like, cliche, but it's almost like the switch flips during your session. And that's actually the time when I take a Polaroid of you.
Oh, cool.
Because I want you to remember that moment when you were like, okay, I can do this. And I am sexy and I am worthy. So that's my favorite part, is watching the person become comfortable with themselves.
That's really, really cool. I'm sure that they would need to really trust you.
Yeah, for sure. It's a very vulnerable thing. Not even, you know, getting undressed in front of a stranger. Like, that's vulnerable in its own, right? But just almost like bearing your soul to a stranger. And this is something else I tell my girls, is there is no expectations of you. My only expectation is that you show up, right? You show up, you be there, follow my prompts. You don't have to look sexy. You don't have to be a certain way, look a certain way, do a certain thing. You just be, and it'll just happen. It'll just unfold. There's no expectation.
That's so interesting, because I'm sure going into a boudoir photo shoot, you would have those own, like, as a client, you would have those own expectations of, like, I need to be sexy.
Yes.
Right? I wouldn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, a lot of people are like, I don't know how to hold my face and stuff. And I just tell them, don't hold your face anyway. Most of the session, your eyes will be closed.
Yeah.
I will count you in, 1, 2, 3. You're going to look at me. I'll take a series of 3 to 5 photos, and I'll pick the most natural looking one.
Right.
Otherwise, when we start staring, we think, oh yeah, I need to poke my lips and I need to make my eyes bigger and right?
Like, all these unnatural expressions. Oh, that's
no, it's not. We don't do that.
No. Well, that kind of transitions us into what I really wanted to talk to you about. Obviously, this podcast is primarily for newly engaged couples who are planning their wedding. And so some people might be like, why do you have a boudoir photographer coming on here? But yeah, I mean, we might get to the specifics of why. But I know that working with your clients on confidence and posing is a huge part of what you do. And so that's why I wanted to bring you on here today, because a lot of people, when they're getting their photo taken, no matter if it's boudoir or a family session or an engagement session or your actual wedding day, you're nervous. You are worried that you don't know how to pose. Some couples are just like, what do I do with my hands? So I thought, you know what, I'd love to bring you on and see, like, just pick your brain and ask you all about confidence and posing.
So I feel like you do a really good job with your photos.
Thanks.
That they don't look posy. Like, actually, that's something I really admire about you, because when I was doing families and weddings, I always wanted those super natural shots, and I find you just do such a great job at that. So
thank you. Yeah. Well, then I will have to say, when I got my branding photos done, Marcy told me not to tell you guys that she was my photographer. She doesn't want to do branding photos, but she was. She's amazing. I got to give her a little shout out. And sorry, Teddy's just choking in the background. Okay.
That wasn't me, I promise.
Yeah, if you hear crunching, Teddy is just eating a treat while we chat. Anyway, yeah, Marcy did my branding photos, and I wanted her to treat me like I was not a photographer, because I also get nervous when I'm in front of the camera, and I'm like, it's like I'm free, like I'm frozen. I'm just like, I actually don't know what to do with my hands in this moment. Like, please, like, treat me like...
I'm 100% the same.
Yeah,
I'm all...
okay.
I can... Those who can't do teach, right? Yeah. I am like 100% hand on the hip, one knee out, Captain Morgan every time in my photos. Like, or Peter Pan. Like,
yeah.
Horrible.
Off to Neverland.
So I get it. We need... Everyone needs guidance because you get that... We all are camera shy, right? You all want to look your best all the time. Like, you don't want to look silly.
Yeah.
So having that guidance is huge.
Yeah, and of course, in the moment, everyone's like, actually, what do I do with my hands? Where do I put these? Like, some people are going to walk in and they're going to have that personality, and that's rare, where they're just like, boom, 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 and they're posing, and you're like, okay, my job is easy. But
I'm just not going to say anything. Just keep doing that, okay?
Just keep doing it.
Great.
But yeah, most of the time, people are super nervous about getting in front of the camera. And when you did my photos, I was just like blown away with how you made me feel. And I was just like, man, I need to get Marcy on here, and this is what we're going to talk about, because I felt like you did such a great job, first of all, making me feel confident myself, and because it's literally your job that you do every day with so many of your clients.
No big
deal. Confidence dealer. And I just thought you were excellent at posing. So,
well, thank you.
That's what I would really like to chat with you about.
Okay, so when I used to work with my wedding clients, like, we would either sit down and have a coffee or like phone chat, Zoom, whatever. My number one thing, and this is something when I first started doing weddings, I didn't include in my packages for whatever reason. Because I was new and didn't know, I guess. But wedding photographers and clients, make sure your wedding photographer includes an engagement session in their package.
Yes. You know what? I, for the last several years, only included an engagement session in like my top 2 packages. Yeah. And this year I was like, they're included in all of my packages.
Absolutely.
They're so important.
Yeah. Because that will set the tone for your wedding day. You will have that time to get to know each other. You'll have that time to get to know how your photographer shoots, how they move, how they expect you to move. You'll know their prompts. You'll already know. So you're already friends. By then, specifically men. Women, okay, this is one of the reasons why I got out of couples' weddings and families. You know, I got tired of photographing dads that didn't want to be there or husbands that didn't want to be there.
I've never had that experience before.
No.
Just kidding.
I was like, wow, you're so lucky.
No, it's true.
And you know, most of them were like, they were okay. They were good sports about it, but you could tell they didn't want to be there. They didn't care. And that shows. That shows so much. So when you have that engagement session, it warms the man up and gets them comfortable with you, because the woman wants to be there. She wants her photos. She has an idea. She has a vision. So I tell my clients, share your vision with your fiance. Make a Pinterest board.
Yes.
Show him. This is what I want my images to be like. Show him, not just your photographer.
Oh, that's good.
But show your husband and go through with it and be like, this is what I really want. And he obviously loves you, or she loves you, wants to be there. And so they're going to make that happen. And okay, so these are my little tips and tricks that I would tell the guy. And I think because, like, I don't know, I'm not very a girly girl, so I kind of get the guy. I love photographing men. Okay, so when I work with men, I always tell them, your focus isn't me. Your focus is your bride-to-be.
Oh, that's so good.
Focus your attention on them. You don't have to look at me until I ask you to look at me. I don't want either of you to look at me. I want it to be about you, the two of you, touch each other, hold each other, and just be yourself. There's no expectations. Tell them to your clients. There's no expectation. That will instantly drop that guard of they feel like they have to fit into a mold to get their photos done.
Right, that's so good.
Because they don't. It is exactly you, and your photos are unique to you. Yes. The second is, you don't know what to do with your hands. Touch your bride-to-be.
Yeah.
Touch your bride-to-be.
Touching.
Or hands in your pockets. Okay? Put one hand in your pocket with a thumb out. I want us either one thumb tucked in or your thumb out. Yeah. Adjust your collar, adjust your shirt, adjust your watch, right? Always just do something, because that's the biggest thing is people don't know what to do with their hands. Women, touch your man, or princess fingers.
Ooh,
have you ever heard that one?
I haven't heard me. Tell me about princess
fingers. So it's just
fingers.
putting, and I tell this to like, when I do like the group family photos, women don't have pockets. Unfortunately, most of our dresses and garments don't have pockets. So I would just say, do a little slight bend in the elbow, and then keep your ring finger and middle finger touching. Okay. With the other two separated. Not like wide, like we're not eating, rock star or whatever. But like, it's more natural looking as opposed to hand wide open.
Right.
It's more feminine as opposed to hand wide open. And it's more relaxed as opposed to like the stiff and no clenched fists. Oh my gosh, this kills a photo.
That would not work.
I also tell them one of my big things about posing is hands, head, and heart.
Okay. Tell me some more about that.
Okay, let's start with head. Well, actually, we just touched on hands.
Yes.
So that's what it is. Basically, those things. Princess fingers, hands in your pockets. I keep it really simple because I don't want to overload them with anything.
Make them feel almost too stressed then about their hands.
Yes, exactly. Right? So it's just like either touch your partner, put your hands in your pocket, or play with something on your suit. Right? Or girls, same thing. Hands play with your hair, whatever. But I need to see them. Hidden limbs is not. Hands is what brings an emotion to a photo. Okay, so if you don't have your hands in the photo, it looks unfinished to me. It doesn't look good.
And it's oftentimes that point of connection, right? When you're talking about a couple, right? That's like how you're touching. Like, yeah.
So yes, hands are huge. Head, I always tell them that like pretend that someone's pulling a string at the top of your head. That is instantly going to give you better posture, right? What does better posture convey? Confidence. Right? It's going to help with any sort of double chin because you're bringing that up. I also use the head as like almost like a handle to also bring emotion. So what brings emotion is like head tilts, right? As opposed to just staying straight all the time. Head tilts. If a client is looking down, say the man is taller than the woman and they're looking down at them, when we look down at our partners, we're going to get a double chin. Everyone, man, woman, doesn't matter. Even Brad Pitt. Okay. So when you do that, just jut your chin out. So almost like you're giving yourself a buffalo hump. You're going to feel like you're getting a buffalo hump, but it's not going to look like it in photos.
Do you want to know what I tell my clients for that? The same thing. I tell them to do the chicken. Like, stick their head out like a bucking chicken.
It feels and then so awkward and weird.
Yeah.
But that's all you're doing is stretching that skin out.
Yeah.
So when you're looking down, even when you're kissing a forehead, give it that little bit extra. It's going to give you that snatch jawline. Works every time. The other one that is really good. This is kind of like a trade secret. So
don't tell anyone.
When you do the jut, especially as a woman, a lot of times we tend to like tilt our head away from the camera. Tilt your temple towards the camera. While sticking your chin out. When you do that without sticking your chin out, you're going to get a huge like side chin, and that's not pretty. But if you're jutting your chin, tilting your temple, it's going to give you that very defined jaw, and it's absolutely beautiful.
So is this how we should sit the rest of the time while we're
That is how I've been sitting
reels?
the whole time. Haven't you noticed? Okay, and then heart. Basically, if you do any sort of yoga, you hear about heart openers. So that's all we're doing is we're opening our heart. So it's rolling those shoulders back, which is going to give you better posture, which is going to convey confidence.
And sometimes it's that whole fake it till you make it kind of thing. So maybe you aren't feeling super confident in front of the camera, but if you're doing all these little tips, it kind of is a fake it till you make it.
And that being said, I don't want you to be stiff. I don't want you to be like, oh, super tall, shoulders rolled back. Right? We're not robots. You're not a robot. You're going to be, I want you to still look natural. And 99% of the time, when you move naturally, it's beautiful. We don't see it because you only see yourself from straight on or your peripherals or that crappy photo your boyfriend or husband or toddler took of you, right? Like, you don't look like that all the time. So it's nice to have all these little things to just make yourself more comfortable for the shoot, but just being as you are is the most important.
Right, and I think with wedding photography specifically, at least the way I shoot, it's a lot of movement-based prompts. So the majority of the time, you're not thinking about all these little details. However, there's a healthy balance between, you know, that one photo that mom and dad want of you guys just looking at the camera, smiling, that they can put on their wall.
Yes, that's what I call them, wall hangers. I say, okay, we're going to get that grandma photo. We need the wall hanger.
100%.
And we get it. And you know what? A lot of clients, that's their favorite. That's the one that's going to make your wall because you can see your face. Everyone wants to see your eyes, you know, things like that.
So. Yeah, and that's where these little tips and tricks can come into play. And I, again, like when you were doing my branding photos, I was like, oh, dang, she's good. I think when we were doing my session, you called them micro adjustments.
Yes. That is 100% it. A good photographer will get you in a pose and just do the micro adjustment to make it go from good to great.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's all it is. So if someone's like, if you're like, okay, jut your chin, tilt your head, do this, and be like, I'm just going to move your chin slightly, you know, just to get the light to hit your face just right, or move your hair off your collarbone, or something like just
those details.
It's the minor adjustments that we'll be like, oh yeah, there it is. That's magic.
Yeah. That's that angle or whatever. Yeah, that's so awesome. And so again, like having a good photographer help pose you can help a client feel more confident. Right?
Yes.
They're not on their own wondering, what do I do?
No.
And I've heard a lot of horror stories from different clients being like, oh, for our family photos or whatever, we had this other photographer and like they didn't tell us how to pose and we just didn't know really what to do. So we were just standing there.
Yeah.
Right. And so I find it interesting because so many couples will also be like, we just love candid photos. And I talked about this a while ago with another friend about what candid photos really are. And there are those true candid photos. You're going to hear me probably talk about this a lot, but because it's, I think the number one question that I receive is like, do you do candid photos? And there are the true candid photos where you're staying far away, like as a photographer, you're taking that step back, you're just taking in what's going on and you're capturing those moments. But when it comes to your portraits, that's different because I guide my clients in movement-based
You should call it
poses.
that. Guided candids.
Yeah, I like, what did I call it? Directed candids.
Yes.
Like you're directing a film, right?
Yeah.
And
because everyone, I don't know if it's like trendy or what, but like pose is just almost like such a negative word.
Yes.
I don't want to pose.
yes.
And I think because we don't want to look like Captain Morgan standing
And
there,
like
right?
you were saying, you like when you were talking about what you wanted for your family photos, for instance, you wanted those relaxed, natural images.
As
and that's
we
what
were.
everyone wants.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think people want that as well for their couples portraits. And again, it's like there's a difference between having a photographer who's just leaves you on your own with no direction whatsoever versus having a more confident photographer.
That is where the engagement session is key.
100%.
Because you already know each other. You're already comfortable. You already know, okay, Rebecca likes when we do this, or this is her prompt. We already know what she means when she says da 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 da, right?
It's like totally a practice run.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And it helps so much for the man. I can't
I agree.
like,
but you know why?
it's
enough. Because they get that first one out of the way, and almost 100% of the time they walk away going, oh, that was actually fun.
Yeah, exactly.
And they don't realize,
and it's all about expectations, right? I've been to a few wedding workshops, and that's what the one that really stuck out to me was set the tone, set the expectation. They want candid photos. Tell them, I do candid photos, absolutely, but I'm going to guide you and direct you. And they're going to be like, cool. Yeah. Like, I like that, right?
Because sometimes you show up to a session and people are like, please pose us, because we had these awful experiences before and whatever. And so, it's also about educating them too, right? Educating your clients before the engagement session. During the engagement session, they're really getting this idea of like, oh, okay, this makes sense. And then come the wedding day,
it should be
relaxed,
easy.
You already have built trust.
Trust. That's a huge one for clients.
Absolutely. And then that confidence again is shining through, and you leave more room for the connection between the couple to shine through the photos as well, because they are more relaxed. It all kind of comes together.
Another one, actually, while we're still on this topic, I always got the family photos out first, right? Got the grandmas and the kids and the grandpas and stuff. Get them all done first, and then do the family, and then do the wedding party, and then send them on their way. Go. Yes. Even the wedding party, even if they're like, oh, we want our wedding party around. Cool. This is just about you guys, though. I don't need your husband laughing at the boys, fooling around in the background. Like, I just go.
Yes. And
go have some drinks. Go do whatever.
It's also a good moment in a busy wedding day for the couple to just connect.
Yeah, totally. And I always say, this is your first moment together as husband and wife. Like your first few seconds of togetherness. And that's what I photograph, is them just looking at each other and talking, and talk about how your wedding day went, talk about your morning, talk about what you felt when you were up there saying your vows, right? Like, talk about that. And I just photograph it, and usually it's just so genuine and sweet. And then we get into like the guided poses and we do the things.
But just like take a second, right? Like,
absolutely,
this is really happening. You really just did this. Like, let's just like, I don't know, take that all in. Yeah.
Because otherwise the whole day is go, 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 go.
And it goes by so fast. And suddenly you're at the end of your day and you're like, oh, wait, we didn't even talk to each other.
No.
You know, like,
I always tell them to take, you know, a 20-minute break, kind of like, depending on how your day is laid out or whatever. But that 20-minute break right around sunset, go outside and just have a breather.
Yeah, literally schedule it
I'll come and just creep on you from the bushes.
Yeah.
But take that time because it does. It just goes so fast.
It does. Hey, are you looking for a wedding photographer? I would love to work with you. Right now I'm booking into 2025, but I still have a couple of spots left in 2024. All you have to do is send me an inquiry through my website, www.rebeccawestman.com. Okay, so I wanted to ask you another question. Sometimes I get asked if I will do a boudoir session for my brides before the wedding day. And I wanted to talk to you about this because I think it can kind of be a little bit of a controversial topic. There's like a two-part question. I guess first, what do you think about that in general? Like when a bride asks for boudoir photos for her husband before the wedding day. That's part one. Okay. The second thing I want to ask is, should any wedding photographer be offering boudoir sessions as a part of their packages?
Okay, so I have a fairly strong opinion about both of these.
Okay.
Number one, I mean, if you're thinking about doing a boudoir session before your wedding for your husband, friggin' go for it. Absolutely. Yeah. You're probably, you've probably worked really hard on yourself and your body, and you want to document it and you want to look your best on your wedding day. It's a perfect time to do a boudoir session.
And it's a fun little gift.
It's a fun gift, right? But if you want to do it for your partner or your spouse or whatever, by all means, I am 100% for it. That's awesome. But boudoir is you're going to go into it with that idea, and you're going to come out with, oh, that wasn't for him, that was for me. Right? I always tell my girls, yes, if you want to do this for your husband, absolutely 100% support it. Obviously, I think it's great, but it's going to be for you, and he just gets the privilege to look at them.
I love that.
So the second part of that question is, should anyone be doing boudoir? Absolutely not.
Right, as a photographer.
Yes.
Right.
Like, boudoir is it's such a vulnerable genre of photography that if you don't have the proper education and experience and mindset and done the inner work, like I said, when I first started, you literally will project your own self onto that person. And it can be detrimental. You can make or break that person. And that's the last thing you want to do before their wedding, right? So should a photographer include them in their packages if they have experience and they've done it and they know? Absolutely. Absolutely they should. What a cool bonus.
And the education behind
it. Education. Education's huge because it is so much more than just pose and click the camera. If a photographer is a wedding photographer primarily, hasn't really shot boudoir, has no boudoir portfolio, doesn't know, and they're including in their packages, to me, they're just trying to make an extra buck off you.
Right. And I would put myself in that category as someone who doesn't have the experience, doesn't have the education, has never done boudoir. So I'm not just going to throw it in there just to make that extra buck. What I do is go see my girl Marcy. She is the one who is going to give you what you're really looking for.
And I mean, if someone has done boudoir and has experience and feels confident and comfortable and wants to do that, then please go to them. They're probably extremely experienced and they just love doing weddings too. That's cool.
So then how does a client know? If they're just getting offered
you need to ask. Yeah. I want my clients to be like, oh my God, that's me. Not, oh my God, that's me. Okay, that's a huge, the tone there. Do you hear it?
Oh, yeah,
I didn't want someone, because I honestly think I am just a fit bitch. I look great all the time. Delusional confidence, right? I got a six-pack. I can wear crop tops. I look great. And so when I see myself in photos, I'm that person. I'm like, no, I don't look like that. What? That's not me, right? My inner girl is fit. Okay. Okay. So my biggest fear was having someone come to me and have the exact opposite effect of, oh my God, what happened? That's not me.
Right.
As opposed to being like, what? Like, I look amazing. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it comes in, is when you get a photographer who's just, oh yeah, I'll give you a boudoir session before your, morning of your wedding day. Who has time?
No.
The morning of your wedding day. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I have done it.
Have you?
Yes.
Oh my god.
And it was actually really cool.
You'd be good at it though.
Yeah, because her hair and makeup was done, and then it was just, she was in her white lingerie, and we just did a couple photos, just, and then I did a Polaroid, and she slipped the Polaroid into his pants during their first look. It was so cute. But for a full boudoir session, I want it to be an experience. So when you get these quick pop-up people, or people just offering it, and
throwing it into a package.
And some people, if that's all they're looking for, is just some hot pics to give to their husband, I mean, sure, but please ask to see their portfolio.
Yes.
Do your research. Don't be scared to ask and be like, what's your experience? Have you ever had education? Like, it's, because if you get a bad experience, like I said, you can break that person.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
Yeah, that's horrible for your confidence and everything like we've been talking about, right? And so I think that's really important, that if you have a wedding photographer out there who is offering boudoir as part of their package, like as an add-on, ask the questions. Okay, well, how long have you been doing boudoir? Can I see your boudoir portfolio? And take a look for yourself. And if that's something you feel confident.
Don't be scared to ask the questions.
Yeah, no, ask them. But I think that some people wouldn't even know to ask those questions, right? Because they're just already trusting their photographer.
Yeah,
so
totally.
I would totally ask that. Now, one thing I wanted to say is that sometimes I ask my brides during the getting ready process if they want to take any kind of little sneaky pics. And I'll bring my Polaroid along as well. Yeah. And that is so fun. But it's like a 5-second thing, right? It's super quick, just right before you get on your wedding dress.
But they're not paying extra for that.
No,
that's just
it's not.
Something
that's just part of the package already.
Yeah.
And it's not, I'm not saying this is some boudoir shoot or something like that. It's just a little
it's part of their day.
Yeah, it's so fun. I love that. But I thought that was kind of an important question to ask, because understanding who boudoir is really for, like, it's for yourself as the woman. And then, like you said, I love that what you said, that for your husband, it's just like a little privilege that they get to see these.
And I also tell my girls that, I'm doing this for my husband, or I'm doing this for my fiance, boyfriend, whatever person. You're doing it for someone other than yourself. I always tell them, just drop your expectation of how they're going to react to it. Because if it isn't exactly what you're thinking, that can also break you.
Oh, that's a good point.
And it sucks when you think a guy's going to be like, oh my God, this is so hot, blah, blah, blah.
Let's get upstairs right now.
And they're like, oh, wow, these are nice.
Right.
And you're kind of like,
excusez-moi.
What? Like, no.
Right.
So just be cautious, I guess. Because, and I'm not saying don't do it, but just do it for yourself, and then he gets the privileges of looking at it.
Yeah, it's
maybe.
A little gift.
If he's lucky.
If he's lucky. I love it. All right. Well, that was so awesome. I think we touched on all the questions that I was hoping to ask you.
Sweet.
And so now I wanted to give you an opportunity to tell our listeners where they can find you, like your socials, website, all that. And I'll include it in our show notes.
So I'm kind of on everything. So I have... My main is Insta, because I'm,
we're millennials.
We're
on Instagram.
But I am on TikTok, and I have email and Facebook. But my primary is Instagram. Like, I will be very fast to reply. I check my emails like once a day. So if you don't hit that time that I'm checking it, it might be a day to come back to you. But Instagram, I'm fairly responsive on it, so that would be the best. And it's MJCS After Dark on Instagram. Same with TikTok. Email is mjcsafterdark@gmail.com. Like, I try to keep it really simple. And same with Facebook.
Perfect. Yeah. And I'll throw a link to all of your stuff there, including your website.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then, okay, at the end of each of my podcast interviews, I am doing these snapshot questions.
Okay.
And so there's 3 questions, and I'm really excited to hear your answers. So, snapshot question number 1. What are you reading, watching, or listening to right now?
Okay, so I used to love reading, and then I had kids, and I just didn't have time for it. But I also was doom scrolling constantly on socials. And then at Christmas time, I got a book. And I was like, you know what, I bought like a little light hook for my book. So instead of doom scrolling, I just started reading. And so it's February 1st. And I'm almost done my third book since January.
Wow.
Yeah.
What have you been reading?
I've entered my bookworm era.
Okay.
We role play and play sexy librarian where my husband just stays quiet and I read at night.
That's so funny.
It's my favorite. I am totally into smut books.
Me too. Okay.
Like,
I can't believe I'm telling everybody this, but me too. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll have to talk.
So the first one I got was like this Nora Roberts book, and it wasn't like spice level. It was like 1 star, but it had some, right? And it was a cute book. It was good. And I was I was in Shoppers Drug Mart, and they have that little book section, and I seen this one, and I mean, it was pretty thick, and it was called Unravel Me. Okay. And I'm like, okay, well, there's got to be some smut in here, right?
Yes.
So I did like a little quickly, like a flip through, and I seen the F word in there. I'm like, sweet, perfect. This is for me.
Exactly what I want.
And so I picked it up, and it is actually the third book in a series called Playing for Keeps.
Okay.
So Playing for Keeps series by Becca Mack.
Okay.
So there's 3 books. So of course I read the third one first. Now I'm on the second, and then I'm gonna read the first. Like, oh my gosh, they are standalone, so it's okay.
It works.
But it's still a series, so it's kind of like the same characters, just their own little different story, and it's actually like a sports romance.
Okay.
Yeah, and totally digging it. It's
good. I'm gonna have to give you some more recommendations.
Yes.
Okay, I will just have to add to this that I entered my book era last year. Finally got back into reading, and with the help of audiobooks too. I listen to them when I edit. Yeah,
I tried, and I get annoyed.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I tried and it just didn't work. So now I just like in the evenings, instead of doom scrolling, instead of editing, like I shut my editing down, because otherwise I was just consumed for so long.
I'm literally going to the library after this podcast interview to go pick up some of my smutty books.
Okay, yes.
That's so funny.
So yeah, what I'm listening to, I'm obsessed with Zach Bryan.
Okay.
I love, his newest album, I can listen to this. So I'm like kind of sound sensitive, like I have very sensitive ears. So when I hear songs and they're just like that constant beats and the constant, I can't handle it. Okay. It's like, I just get like anxious almost. Zach Bryan has an amazing way of, in his songs, he has like crescendos where like they're like a build up and then it calms down and it's just like, it doesn't annoy me at all. Okay. Because it's not that constant beat, right? And so it's like, it's very easy listen. All right, I love that. I like that. So I can listen to that while I edit because I don't get annoyed.
Okay, I'll have to check out the new album.
Yeah. And watching, well, reading has consumed my life, so I don't really watch anything anymore.
Okay, fair enough.
When we do, we like series, but we haven't really watched anything for a while. Yeah. We got a wood stove in our house, so now I just sit by the fire and read.
Oh my gosh, when can I come over?
Oh, whenever, man.
We
Doors
can just
open.
read our smutty books beside each other.
I like it. Awesome. I'll do it.
Okay, snapshot question number 2. What is your coffee shop order?
So it depends where I'm at.
Okay.
My favorite is Second Cup.
Okay.
That's where I do all my reveals.
Ooh.
Yeah, we like sit in the corner booth and we sip coffees and hang out. And like it's like 2 weeks after your session, sip coffees in the back booth, and we just marvel at how amazing you are, and we giggle in the corner, and it's so much fun.
Yeah, I'm going there tonight to meet up with a potential wedding client, so maybe I'll have to steal your order or whatever it is here.
Caramel Corretto.
Caramel Corretto.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's good. It's like, yeah, I like it. And like Push Pinder, shout out. She is like, as soon as I walk in there, she's like, Caramel Corretto. I'm like, yes, please give me.
Oh, they know you.
Give me it.
I love it. And snapshot question number 3. What is a random pet peeve that you have? And it can be anything.
Okay, this one was really hard for me because pet peeves are supposed to be like something that annoys you all the time. And like, I don't really have any to say. Like, I don't know, kids that don't listen, for one. But I think that's everyone's. But the one that has kind of sprung up to me lately is unspoken rules.
Oh.
Is a big pet peeve. It's annoying for me. So I've entered into a couple new organizations, we'll say, in the last year-ish and a bit. And it's the unspoken rules. So like, they just expect you to know. Even though you've never done it before, you have no idea. So like, that's why when clients come into me and they don't know what to expect, I just said there's 0 expectations. There's no right or wrong way. This is just, you do it however you want to do it, right? I hate going into somewhere, even like church or something, and you're like, oh, I'm supposed to do that? Oh, I didn't know, right?
Dress
and so,
a certain way.
Yes, like there's so much, like my kid's in hockey, and so there's it's my first year, he's U11. I don't know. These people have been doing it for the last 5 years. I don't know how this goes. And so it's just, they just throw you in there like you should know, but you don't. So it's kind of like the unspoken rules that you're like, how are you supposed to know this? Like, so it's just been like kind of the source of my anxiety lately, because I'm like, am I fucking up? Like, how am I supposed to know? How do I know this? Like,
okay, I like that answer. That is like not fun when you find something out, especially after. Good answer. Okay, well, thank you so much. We better shut this off so we can talk all smutty books.
Yes.
No.
Oh my God.
But
I know.
you.
Have you heard of like Actar?
Oh yeah, I've already been reading. I have one book left.
Oh my God, this is like a thing, and I'm like,
Actar is like a Court of Thrones and Roses series, and it's like super smutty fantasy. You guys,
it's like about fairies, and I'm like,
me too. I was really apprehensive. I read the first book and I was like, I don't know, and then I started going back to other series and whatever, and then I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I was like, I have to read the next book.
Really?
I have to. And so then I read it.
It's good.
And anyway, I have one left.
And so like 10 out of 10 would recommend.
You have to be ready to
I think I'm ready.
enter the fantasy world.
I think I'm ready.
Yeah, okay, then just do it.
I wish those like smut like novels on your phone that pop up about like werewolves and shit. Yeah. Oh my God, yeah, I read the whole thing every time.
That's amazing. That's
so
funny.
I think I'm ready.
You are so ready. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you again. It was so nice to get your expertise on here, and I loved chatting with you, hearing all the boudoir advice and advice on posing and confidence.
Yeah, well, I hope it helped.
Oh, I'm sure it will. Hopefully our listeners will learn a lot from you today. So
come see me.
Go see Marcy if you need boudoir done and you're in the Lloydminster or surrounding area.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Give her all your money.
Gimme.
Yeah.
No, it's not about the money. You are not a paycheck.
But it's worth it is what I mean. It is worth it.
But it will be worth it. Yes.
Yes.
It will be 100%
whenever
worth it.
anybody asks me about boudoir, I'm just like, no, go see Marcy. Go see Marcy.
Oh, thanks, girl.
You're welcome. Okay, we'll chat with you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Marcy is such an amazing photographer, and I hope you learned a lot from her about confidence in front of the camera, as well as her excellent posing tips. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next week.